Hello and welcome to another Lumbridge Knight guide for free-to-play OSRS. In this video, we're going to be looking at everything to do with the Hill Giant boss, Obor. So fee fi fo fum, I reckon you don't want to miss this one. I think that rhymed. Calling all potential squires and knights, the Lumbridge Knight needs you. Why fight Obor? I mean, other than the challenge to defeat one of the few OSRS bosses in free-to-play. Well, if you do it enough, you could get on the high scoreboard. Good luck with that. He also has 6 combat achievements to complete, but obviously the main reason is the rewards. Previously, you needed a giant key to access Obor, and if you defeated him, you received your drop. Now, however, you only need a giant key the first time you access the boss chamber. From that point on, giant keys open a reward chest in his lair, which you can open with a key once per Obor kill. And don't worry, that first key isn't consumed when you open the instance either. Obor himself still drops some standard items, including giant keys for the chest, with a 1 in 16 chance, which actually makes him a good option for farming keys once you've unlocked the boss chamber. In terms of desirable rewards, Obor's reward chest offers 2 main items of interest. The first is the Hill Giant Club. This is a high strength bonus weapon, on par with the Rune 2-hander, but with the highest crush bonus in all of free-to-play. It's quite rare with a 1 in 118 chance. The second item of interest is the Rune Kite Shield. This is currently the only way that Iron Men can obtain the shield, other than smithing one themselves of course. It has a 1 in 39.33 chance to drop. Table on the screen there, courtesy of OSRS Wiki, shows the variety of other items available from the chest. Looking at Obor's stats, he has 120 health, a maxed melee hit of 22, and a maxed range hit of 28. Obor does not attack with magic. As you can see from his defensive stats, he is most susceptible to magic and ranged. However, in free-to-play, the ranged equipment available just isn't great for fighting Obor, so we're going to discount ranged. Magic is plausible in free-to-play if you use Snare in order to immobilize him. And lastly, this brings us to melee, which is probably my recommended option, due to its simplicity. How do we access Obor? Well, his lair is located within the Edgeville dungeon. The easiest way in is by using the brass key on the shed between the Cooking Guild and the Barbarian Village. In order to open the gate to his lair, you will need a giant key. These are dropped by Hill Giants, so you'll probably need to kill a fair few of these to get your first key. If you haven't got your brass key for quick access to the Edgeville dungeon, make sure you pick one up as you're travelling through, as it's a useful item to have, or you can buy one from the GE. There are 3 main spawns for Hill Giants in free-to-play. One is the Wilderness near the Lava Maze, where there are around 6 giants, and killing them gives a 1 in 64 chance of obtaining a key. This is the best rate from Hill Giants, but it comes with all the risks of the Wilderness, so hardcore Iron Men beware. There are 7 that spawn at the Giants Plateau to the east of Alcarid. This is a decent spot as most people don't realise it's there. These have the standard 1 in 128 chance of dropping a key, and the last place is within the Edgeville dungeon, right next to the instance. 12 giants spawn here, and it's also reasonably close to the GE or Varrock West Bank. Like the Plateau, they have the standard drop rate of 1 in 128. So you'll probably have to kill significantly more Hill Giants at these locations versus the Wilderness, but there's no chance of being PK'd. On that note, see my magic training guide, a link to which will be popping up on the screen now, which utilises Hill Giants for one of the methods. Once we've got a key or 2, you're going to have to decide which combat technique to use, magic or melee. Don't worry, I'll give you both, including my recommendations for stats, items and equipment. We're going to go through magic first, since it's a bit more involved. Starting with stats. You're going to need a minimum of 40 prayer. This is to utilise Protect from missiles. This is crucial because it halves the amount of damage that Obor's ranged attack deals. And trust me, I've trialled both Protect from melee and Protect from missiles. Next up, you're going to need 53 magic so you can cast Earth Blast, and I personally recommend a defense level of 50 as well. Some people might say this is a bit high. This is just in case you take any hits from Obor. If/when that happens, you'll probably want to have that little bit extra defense, so I personally would edge on the side of caution. Moving on to equipment. You basically need best in slot magic gear, which is pretty basic in free-to-play, as well as an Earth or Air Staff for Earth Bolt or Blast, so we can take advantage of Obor's 20% Earth weakness. Finally, items. Obviously, we'll be using magic, so you'll need to make sure you bring appropriate runes to go with Earth, Blast or Bolt and Snare, since our whole tactic is going to revolve around it. Moving on to the actual battle tactics associated with fighting Obor. Before you enter the instance, I've created this handy checklist to ensure that health, prayer, run, etc. is how it should be. So check that you've successfully completed the checklist before going through the door. When ready, click on the door, and as long as we have a giant key, it will open. Previously, this would have consumed the key, but now we only need the key to unlock the door the first time. It will no longer be consumed, and assuming we successfully defeat Obor, we can use it on the reward chest. Once you enter the instance, don't worry about being instantly attacked. Obor is in a pit on the other side, and he will not attack you until you descend into it. What you probably want to do is wait until Obor is at one side of the pit or the other. You'll see that highlighted roughly on the screen there. And when he is any of these positions, descend into the pit and instantly hit him with a snare. I recommend activating your protect from missiles before you actually descend into the pit, not like what you can see me doing there. So once you're in the pit with the prayer activated and you've hit him with a snare, run to the opposite side and just start spanking him up with Earth Blast. Remember, this is to take advantage of his 20% weakness. If you can't yet use Earth Blast, then use Earth Bolt. Snare lasts for 9.6 seconds, otherwise known as 5 ticks. So you've roughly got around 1 attack before you'll start moving again. Obviously, this is minus your running time. I recommend you try to hit him with 1 or 2 blast spells and then follow that up with a snare, trying to pin him at the opposite end as far away from you as possible. And then when he gets close enough, you probably want to snare him again and run to the opposite end. Then it's just a case of rinse and repeat. Snare, Earth Blast, snare, Earth Blast until he's defeated. Remember to keep your HP topped up by eating if you get hit, and maintain your run energy with energy pots if needed. Keep this up and eventually, as you've just seen on the screen there, he will be defeated. If at any point you feel the battle is going south and you've run out of food or taken too much damage, then you can use your Tele Runes or the Chronicle to get out. And that pretty much sums up how to kill Obor using magic. Once he's down, collect his drops and use your giant key on the reward chest to get your reward. Quick note, if you stay in the pit long enough, Obor will respawn and attack you, so get out of there unless you have more giant keys to use. Since Obor can be effectively farmed now, and as I mentioned previously, he has a giant key drop rate of 1 in 16, he is actually a good option for getting more keys. Please like the video and support my content. Thank you, noble knight. Now let's look at melee. Similar to magic, the melee option needs 40 prayer. It doesn't matter how you approach Obor, protect from missiles is the boil. As for the rest, I recommend base melee stats of around 50. That's 50 attack, 50 strength and 50 defense, in case you were wondering. If you have these stats, you should be in with a good chance of killing Obor, assuming you have the right equipment, which we're going to look at now. You should be able to see a breakdown of the recommended melee equipment, along with the approximate guidelines on the screen. There's no real tips or tricks to this other than to bring the best possible melee equipment you can afford. You'll see in the video throughout I use the Rune Plate body. Technically, Rune Chain body is slightly better with +2 versus Obor's melee attacks, as he uses Crush, which also means you don't need to have completed the Dragon Slayer 1 quest. However, the plate body offers superior defense against his range attacks, +15. Despite our protection prayer, he will still attack with ranged. So in my opinion, the +15 against his ranged is better than the +2 versus his melee, but both are good options. In terms of weapons, regular players are still best off with the Rune Scimitar, and Iron Men, you are best off with the Rune Sword. Not the Rune Longsword. You'll do more damage with the Rune Sword, as Obor is slightly more susceptible to stabbing than he is Crush. That's why we don't want to use the Baronite Mace here. And the speed of the standard Rune Sword is faster than that of the Rune Longsword. So, same as with Bryophyta, you'll do a higher DPS with the Rune Sword. Also, Iron Men, if you can't get the Amulet of Power, go for the Amulet of Strength. Obviously again, that's level 50 crafting, so if you can't hit that, go for the Amulet of Accuracy, available from the Imp Catcher quest. The only real difference in terms of items between this method and the last method is the addition of a strength pot to increase your melee max hit, and the lack of runes, outside of Tele Runes if you're using them, allowing us to carry a bit more food. And finally, the melee battle tactics. Once again, before you enter the instance, do the checklists. Is your prayer recharged? Do you have full health? Etc, etc. You know the drill. If you pass all the checks, then Thunderbirds are go, let's enter the instance. The only trick to fighting Obor using melee is to ensure that Obor pins you against a wall. I'm going through the grid squares on the screen there of where you want to be and where you want Obor to be. Wait until Obor is close to the entrance to the pit. The closer he is, ideally right at the bottom, the better. And you want to then activate Protect from Missiles, drink your Strength Pot 2, climb down into the pit and run to Obor, making sure that you are orientated as close to the nearest wall as possible, with Obor positioned so that he's essentially pinning you against the wall. The reason you want to do this is because Obor has a slam attack which he can use to knock you back. If you're against the wall, this eliminates the knockback effect, so you don't go flying back 3 or 4 squares. You'll still have a slight delay to your next attack, whether you're against the wall or not, but at least if you're pinned it saves you having to run back and keeps you just focused on the minimum number of clicks. With Protect from Missiles active, you're pinned against the wall, and you're using the correct slash or stab attack style depending on your weapon of choice. All you have to do now is grind him down until he is dead. You'll have to keep eating to compensate for the damage he's going to do to you, because he will hit quite high. If your prayer gets low, remember you can also use prayer flicking to ensure that your prayer stays up for the majority of the battle. This will help you avoid taking too much damage. Obviously, if things go wrong, do not be afraid to teleport out. Due to the recent changes, you don't really lose anything other than any damage you did to Obor's HP, so no reason not to live to fight another day. And that pretty much sums up melee in a nutshell. Once he's down, collect his drops and use a giant key, assuming you have one, on the chest. Then either wait and fight him again, or get out of there. Now, as with all my videos, I like to bring a couple of bonus tips right at the end. So here are some key tips that will make fighting Obor that little bit easier. The first tip is to always recharge your prayer at the monastery to the west of Edgeville. The reason you want to do this is because it gives you an extra 2 prayer points. You do need level 31 prayer in order to access the altar at the monastery, but obviously if you've listened to my advice, you should be level 40, so this shouldn't be a problem. The second tip I'm going to bring you is to go into your settings and under the control tab, as you can see me doing there, and where it says NPCs, change the option to left click where available. Normally for high level NPCs such as Obor, being level 106, you'd have to right click and then left click to attack. Changing this option, as I've suggested, allows you to attack with 1 left click instead of the normal right click left click combo. This is crucial when you want to eat, flick your prayer, and do anything else in between, move, etc, as this allows you to resume attacking with 1 simple left click. The third tip is to do with setting up your quick prayers. To set up your quick prayers, all you need to do is right click on the quick prayer icon next to your minimap, so right click, set up quick prayers, and in this instance we want to be using Protect from Missiles. Once that's done, we want to come off that menu, and now we can toggle our prayer on and off by simply clicking the icon on the screen. As you can see, I'm doing there. This is critical if you want to perform prayer flicking, which conveniently is my 4th tip. To assist with prayer flicking, I use an online metronome. If you just search for metronome on Google, you can get that and set it to 100 beats per minute. This is roughly aligned with the game clock. Since Obor has an attack speed of 6, this means he attacks on the 6th tick. I can align that now, and I'll tune the metronome in so you can hear it, so that I click the prayer on the 4th or 5th tick, and turn it off again on the 6th or just after the 6th. This basically preserves my prayer and allows me to have all the benefit while not actually using it up. The final tip I've got is to make sure you're using hotkeys. In this case, I'm using F1 for my inventory and F2 for my spellbook. This allows me to jump back and forth so I can heal and cast snare as required. And then, assuming I've set up correctly based off my previous tip, I can just use a single left mouse click to resume attacking. This is good for bossing, but also useful for Runescape in general. Though for those players playing on mobile, this may not be of much use. And that pretty much sums up this video. I hope that it has been of some use to you. Thank you for watching, and if you have any tips or tricks of your own to get the better of Obor, please leave a comment and let me know. I'm keen to hear them. And all left for me to say is I've been the Lumbridge Knight, peace out, and thanks for watching.